authorize a moment of silence this evening. I'd like to dedicate our moment of silence to our former Borough Clerk, Doris Poe. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Cranford Chronicle, advertised on January 16, 2015. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger and promptly posted on the municipal bulletin board. And following the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public of the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231 PL 1875. Please turn away your cell phones off and electronic devices you may have. Roll call, please, Kathleen.
Mayor Lombardo.
Here.
Councilman Martin.
Here.
Councilman Matthew.
Here.
Councilman Petrozelli.
Here.
Councilwoman Tarantino.
Here.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Here.
Council President Yerstedt.
Here. Motion to suspend the regular order of business to hold public hearing on the 2015 municipal budget as advertised in the Cranford Chronicle on April 10, 2015. List of correspondence received according to the 2015 municipal budget. 2-1, Bruce Patterson.
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 4-1-15, Bruce Patterson, 2015 Garwood municipal budget comments and questions. Does anyone present wish to be heard concerning 2015 municipal budget? Hearing none, motion to close. Oh, sorry.
I'll go last.
I think you have all those questions answered.
Actually,
You thought he was going to take the chance to make a
You wrote his name twice, I'm sure.
Just put your biddles down.
Good evening, Mayor Lombardo, ladies and gentlemen, Council.
Mr. Patterson.
Bruce Patterson, Now, actually, in reference to the budget, I mean, I'm not going to pick it apart like the old days. And yes, I did have my questions answered by Sandra Bruns, which I thank personally. And Mr. Switzer's here. I don't know if you want to introduce him. I asked last time who's that guy.
He wants to keep it.
But anyway, just to talk about the budget a little bit. I did have a few.
3 minutes worth?
3 minutes worth? Yeah, I guess you could say that, but then I'll be saying things. But anyway, just a question on sheet 4. We're looking at the surplus anticipated, and actually, I'm very excited because I see it goes from $468,000 in 2014 up to $598,000 in 2015. That's a $130,000 increase. I missed the other budget meetings. You may have talked about that. But last year, I don't know if you remember, you weren't there at that point. But anyway, I did write that there was a possibility. There was a possibility of taking surplus and making the tax impact down to 0. Councilman Matthew, I think, was also going to talk about it last year. I think he did, and maybe he's going to talk about it this year. But at that point last year, and this is $130,000 ago, the professionals were recommending that you don't mess around with the surplus, that you really need it for emergency funds, and you should always hold something in abeyance, and I don't recall the other reasons, and perfectly legit and valid reasons. But now we're looking at another $130,000 on top of that. And my question is, are you keeping that as surplus for a reason? Because if you're not, it appears that 468 was a safe number. So if 468 was a safe number, why is also 598 a safe number, $130,000 higher? So, I mean, hopefully somebody can answer that. Let me just ask a few more questions. I noticed, another possibility. On sheet 3E, accumulated sick days and vacation days, you know, right now you have a value of approximately $210,000. Nothing is in reserve, which means that the next person retiring, you know, a police officer or a whatever employee of the borough retires, it looks like we're gonna, if they have accumulated sick days and vacation days, we're gonna owe money, and it's gonna be another squeeze. And again, you know, possibly the surplus does cover that. Yeah, I'm just wondering, where actually in the budget, the VA won a suit against us. I'm just wondering where that cost is in the budget. And then I want to make some comments. Again, you know, I did ask Sadie Bruns some questions, and she came back with answers. And I'm concerned, I'm looking at, like last year, there were 42 properties with delinquent 2014 taxes. This year, there are 63 properties with delinquent 2015 taxes, and that's a negative trend, which hopefully you're thinking about. The only other item from my questions I have that I got answers, and I guess, you know, nobody really likes to talk about the gorilla in the room, but I will. I'll ask that. And Lou Petrozelli, who's a part-time council person, his health benefits, even with his contributions, now breaks the threshold of $30,000. And interesting, the ironic part is he's the chair of the finance committee. Yet, you know, he's taken $30,000 in annual health insurance costs and dental insurance costs. No other employee even comes close to that. Years ago, I asked Councilman Petrozelli, like, would he consider at least dropping it down to where the taxpayers can pay $10,000 and he should cover the rest, because it's only a part-time job. I understand the legalities of it, but I mean, just seriously, if he has any ethics and understands what's going on here out with the taxpayers, with the ever-increasing taxes, I seriously have a couple suggestions. One is drop it down to $10,000. I asked you this many times, to the point where you even went to the police to consider whether I was harassing you or not, which is amazing in itself.
Let's stay on topic, please.
Oh, anyway, I would like Councilman Petrozelli to drop his health benefits down to a $10,000 threshold, which seems very fair. Or else, maybe I'd like to hear the council what they really have to say about the exorbitant $30,000 largesse that he's getting, which is legal. But anyway, but if anything, maybe $1,000 from each of the council people to offset some of that cost would help. That would be always good. I mean, there is a third alternative, and that's a recall next year, which I believe there's probably enough people out there to push it through. One other option that we have is actually the council passed a resolution capping that health at $10,000. And whether it's legal or not, we'd have to hear from Mr. Renaud, but I still think you should pass that resolution. And the question would be, is Councilman Petrozelli actually going to sue for that extra $20,000? Do you think he'd really want to make a stink for that extra money that he would claim he
Can
deserves?
we get back to the budget, please?
This is a budget. That's $30,000 that's coming out of these taxpayers' funds. Okay. I think I made my point. I'd really seriously like to hear from each council person on that issue. That's serious. In addition, I did mention about the county. I'll tell you, the government, it's just the government is so entitled. They feel so entitled. And the taxpayers with their supposedly deep pockets are footing this bill. And I did mention about the county, and I did mention about $25 million, you know, $8 million increase, and the other 18 million just disappearing. I would like to hear the council people not only mention about Councilman Petrozelli's health insurance, what really should be done, and also I would like to hear the council people talk about all this disappearing money that's at the county that is also the taxpayers. I hope this doesn't end up political, but I just know it will. But I seriously, I'm a taxpayer. I pay a lot of money And as a taxpayer, I give my say, and I would like to hear our government be proactive and respond. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I have to think that Bruce has a good point. I think he makes a lot of valid points. And I'll make a couple of comments. I mean, let's get this out on the table. First of all, anybody who has a benefit that they are collecting either through collective bargaining or through, you know, the way maybe it's all collective bargaining. I have to claim ignorance on some of our employees, whether they're part of that or not. I guess they're not. But anything somebody's been promised, whether it's through collective bargaining or not, that becomes part of the law and protected under the law. I don't think Lou has an obligation to have any kind of a give back. I don't think he's even obligated to take a look at that. That's what we have. That's part of the law of the land that Lou is getting that. It's grandfathered in. No one will ever be able to get that again. And so, for those reasons, I'm not saying it's not a lot of money, Bruce. I'm not saying 30 grand is not a lot of money. And especially since in this day and age, when we're looking for squeezing every dollar, you know, it does appear that any money that we spend, you know, more than a couple of bucks, it hits us in a very sensitive area. It hits our nerve because our taxes go up. But I don't think this is one area that we can look at, because it's something that's already been done. It's been agreed to, and then for Lou to voluntarily go back and do that, then what do? Ask everybody to go back voluntarily and give back some of their health benefits? I don't think that's fair. In terms of the county, Bruce, I think you know I'm with you. I think the county is disgustingly mismanaged. I'll say it right out loud. I wish there was something I could do more than just stand up at a meeting and say that. Anybody who looks at a lot of the litany of what's been going on in the county, and you've written a lot of it, there I think that you have very valid points. There I think maybe there's something that we can try and do. You pick any area of the county, it's horrible. A $500 million budget for one county in New Jersey? Come on. Thank you.
Well, my suggestion would be there were 3 comments that were first brought up about fund balance, reserve for retirees, and then also the administrator's soup and where that money is. So if you don't mind, I don't mind taking the fund balance one, since it's something we talked about at length. But if you want to take the other 2, okay, thanks. First of all, as you can see, yes, we did anticipate more revenue from surplus, which essentially means we are using more of it than last year. However, what ends up being left is the exact same as last year. That was our intent. The reason for that being the bond sale. Last year, our auditors and our CFO cautioned us to use more of that surplus. They cautioned us against that. And so in this year as well, with the bond sale actually taking place in 2015, and us being under a microscope for 2015, 14, and the few years prior to that, we wanted to make sure that we did not kind of, for lack of better words, shoot ourselves in the foot and do something foolish when it came to that. And it turned out to work out really well for the Borough of Garwood, because with this last bond sale we just did, interest rate came in at 1.88%, which was lower than we anticipated. We actually will save $50,000 over the life of the bond. Now we don't have to pay that because the interest rate was lower than we expected. So I think we really were fiscally responsible with those decisions from both 2014 as well as 2015. So if you want to add to that at all, feel free, but I just wanted to point out the intent of the Finance Committee to leave it the exact same as last year. It was great that we could use more. Maybe in future years more will be used. We'll have to look at everything, but with the bond sale we definitely want to be really, really careful with that.
That was a major consideration, and going back to the purpose of fund balance, it also is a way of enabling you to pay your bills early in the year before you've collected your taxes in full, before you've gotten your state aid that doesn't come until the fall. If you don't have fund balance available, you have quite a few large bills that come at the beginning of the year, $10 to $20 million RBSA. With that fund balance in place, you have to go out and borrow money to pay your bills. So that is another purpose of it. Anything else? As far as the other two questions that Mr. Patterson asked, the administrator's settlement came out of money that had been put aside for that purpose, so it wasn't necessary to raise it in the budget. And the cumulative absences, that's a total, but that wouldn't be something that you could necessarily pay out in a lump sum. And we have an appropriation in the budget every year of $15,000 for retirement sick benefits. So we try to build up that money to have available when we know someone is close to retirement.
I actually did have one to add to that too. Since you probably remember, we had that retirement earlier this year, about $40,000, I believe that was for. So that depleted quite a bit of the reserve. But on the plus side, although it depleted the reserve, we didn't have to do a special emergency appropriation, which is good because then we're not paying interest on that. And we're also not doing a special emergency, which is sort of frowned on by the state. If you do too many of them, they'll basically threaten and maybe follow through on withholding some of your state aid. That's it.
Thank you.
Cover everything.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on. Motion to close public hearing on the 2015 municipal budget.
So moved?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt resolution number 15186, 2015 municipal budget.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 15-186.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Matthew?
No.
Councilman Petrozelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tarantino?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco?
Aye.
Council President Eersted?
Yes.
Thank you. Minutes, please.
We gonna have a discussion on the budget at all? Discuss what our votes were? I mean, at the point where we're voting on it? I mean, does anyone else think we should?
I'd like to know why you voted no again. That's one thing I'd like to know.
To satisfy Councilman Martin's curiosity? Should we have to vote?
Okay. So,
Yeah, great, thank you very much. All right, so yeah, just wanted to thank everyone for the work that they did on the budget. It's not a criticism of you, it's a criticism of the budget. And the things I liked about the budget, I really liked the 2 meetings idea. I thought that was great. I really like the LoSAP increase, and I like the fact that we're doing that. That wasn't just a one-time thing, and we do it periodically. The question of the shade tree, did we go with the higher amount or the lower amount? Sandy, I think, when I spoke to you, was it the higher amount?
I believe it was the higher amount. I thought
It was a higher amount.
It was actually a compromise between what was recommended by the administrator who handles Shade Tree and the committee. So she basically requested 12 and we went with 6, and then it was discussed whether or not to reduce it, and at that time, the majority of the council at the special meeting said, leave it as it is at 6 for Shade Tree, so it was left at 6.
I think that's what I would do. And then just overall, just a general comment, why I vote against it. I think that this is the budget I came closest to voting for, if that counts for anything. I think this is the best budget a broken system can produce. I think until we reform the process of going ahead, getting a budget, having it inflated, and then giving it to the elected officials, where we're going ahead and just fighting the rate of increase until we change that process, really the budget's gonna always be like this. This is what Washington does. You build in the increase, and then you go ahead and you fight about the rate of increase, and in Washington that counts as a cut. In Garwood, by the way, that also counts as a cut. So I think the reform, until we get people up here willing, and voters willing to get people up here willing to do that, we're not gonna really change much in this budget. So I do think this budget is the best that this system can produce. I really do believe that. One thing, $19,516 a year for rec complex maintenance. We were told over and over again before this was adopted, it was gonna cost $2,000 to $3,000 a year. We are at $19,500 and counting. Debt service increase, $34,000. Cutting the senior director's stipend almost in half, $5,000. I think that was wrong. And finally, I thought, Mayor, you might find this interesting. We're cutting $3,000 from the library by increasing their shared services that they have to pay us. I think we're strangling that institution. I think we keep going ahead and doing this. I mean, we're not going to have a library in Garwood anymore. So really, I have to say the tax increase bothers me less than in the other budgets. The spending priority or lack thereof is really kind of where I part ways on that. And also, I just want to comment one thing on what Mr. Patterson brought up, as to Mr. Councilman Petrozelli's benefits. You know, you want to do a recall. We had a chance to recall him in November. It's called an election. So, again, I don't know where the recall comes in. That was an issue that was out there for the public. So, I don't know how you argue with these things and say you got to go ahead and do a recall. The voters have spoken, and that's on them if they didn't go ahead and speak at that time. Thank you.
Any other comments of council, or we have a discussion?
Well, the other thing that I did want to comment on, as far as the cost for the field, I don't have the email with me, but that was a question that was brought up to the architect prior to us going out and getting our bids. And the email stated throughout, his email how much those costs were, and that's where that number was generated from. So I believe the email was in July of 2012, and we had signed up with the contractor in December of 2012. So that's where those numbers came from. I'll actually bring it to the next meeting. I don't have it with me, but that's where that number came from. So he actually calculated those costs for us based on the usage of the field and how he saw that.
Did you believe it?
Sure, I believe it. Yeah.
Because I didn't, and a lot of the people in the community didn't.
Well, I believed it because he knew the type of equipment and everything that was going into that facility.
Okay, so I respect your view, and I completely I take your word, but I'm not surprised by this. Many of the people in the community are not surprised by this. So believing that figure is really not the only opinion you can take on that.
Anyone else?
Mayor, I do actually on that same issue. If you want to allow me to use my cell phone, I do have that email from Councilman Petrozelli because he shared it with me. But anyway, if anybody really wants to see it, I'll show it to you. But I won't use my phone, Mayor, so I don't get in trouble. But
I'll gather you.
that was a tough one. I mean, you want to put trust in your professionals, whether it's our professionals that are here full time, the ones that are here part time, the ones that we hire on a project. So when you're told you're putting in a building that would be more efficient than what you have, et cetera, and giving their justification and having, of course, many more years in the business than we do, we took them for their word. Next project, hopefully I'm still sitting up here for, maybe, never know. But anyway, I mean, I think I would think twice, absolutely, lesson learned. But I think we also really need to keep in mind with this maintenance cost of the field that we did the right thing, I feel, with this budget. We pulled that out separate from buildings and grounds so the public could truly see the cost of it based on estimates that we were getting from and actual bills that started coming in 2015 after the complex was opened in December. And so in pulling them out, we also realized that we were probably spending about $10,000 a year on that complex within the buildings and grounds budget in prior years. Now it happens to be separated. Now also what happens is we're generating revenue from that complex, which I have a report on later, but right now we're in April and we're at about the $10,000 mark. So really, if you look at it that way, as of April, we're pretty much at a wash. We may even really become in the plus in the immediate sense of operating costs for that facility. Obviously, there's a long-term obligation to pay it off, what was not already taken care of with grants, but I think that that's really positive, and the whole picture should be looked at when you're looking at maintenance and the cost or revenue of that facility. Thanks.
And Mayor, just one thing, if I have a question for Sandy Bruns. The administrator's settlement, how much was that?
I believe it was about 27.
I think it was 29,000.
Yeah.
I was just asking you for that on the record. I was told by a constituent it was $500,000, so I just wanted to get I wanted to get that on the record, $29,000. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else before we go forward?
Yes, Mayor. Bruce, as he always does, raises, a number of questions. And I know when I sat out there, I always hated it when you would ask questions of council and members didn't answer and they just went on. So I'm glad Councilman Matthew brought forth the fact that we hadn't actually spoken on it. So just very quickly. Yes, Jim, as far as the library, yeah, I noticed that. Obviously, I heard that at home too. So, and I think Jim said something that's right on the mark. We may indeed lose the library. down the road. So I think that is something that we all have to recognize, the importance that it is to the borough, and the in-kind fees and everything that the borough does charge the library, how their assessment, I'll call it, is not set by the borough, but it's set by the state. And I just do encourage everyone to watch what we advocate, what we spend for, or what we indicate we're going to spend appropriate for the library, because there is great potential for losing it down the road. And I think it's a great asset that we can't lose. Number two, I sit here understanding the question about Councilman Pedrozelli, but I don't think Councilman Pedrozelli really, I don't want to dwell on it. I think he's entitled to it. He is the last of that council. Those council members at that time did take advantage of the same situation that he currently continues to take advantage of. They only don't have it because they lost elections. Lou, for many reasons, Councilman Pedrozelli, for many reasons, all the time that he has spent with the athletic complex and other, as Councilman Matthew indicated, he won his last election. So I think that issue is really water over the dam. And I know the last recall that you advocated, Mr. Patterson, didn't go so well. So I'd ask you to think twice about this one also.
My wife had cancer.
And in terms of, I don't know, I guess I keep hearing this word in general across the country about, entitlements. We all pay into those quote entitlements. We all benefit from those entitlements. It's not government that's increasing the cost of health insurance, it's corporations, it's the health insurance area where the profits are being made. Mr. Sarno, you may indeed not appreciate that comment, but if you look at what the CEOs are making within the health field versus what hospitals make, versus what nurses on the front lines make, versus what the healthcare professionals make, you will see that the money is not going to us, it's not going to increase our healthcare benefits or our provision, it's going to pay for the increases of CEOs within the healthcare field. So none of us are returning our health benefits or offering to pay more. I don't think anybody running for offices of any position is doing that right now. So I would not ask Mr. Pedrozelli to do that either. And that's enough for my soliloquy, and I thank you, Mayor.
We'll continue on
Mayor,
then.
sorry. One comment, library, in-kind fees came up, so I feel as though we should discuss it just briefly for the benefit of the public. So in-kind fees are basically the expenses that the municipality incurs in order to basically have the library function. The library pays in-kind fees to the school board as well, which is a separate issue, obviously, for the Board of Ed and the library to handle, not for our business. But basically, by increasing it $3,000, it's matching what it costs. So it is a thought that down the road, should we as a municipality supplement or subsidize the library? Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. That's a debate to have at that time. Also, the library does have some other sources of funding besides what is allocated by the state, by formula. There are some accounts out there, which of course they're entitled to spend how they wish, but I would hate to think that the library would be in a position to close its doors anytime soon, but I do think it's important for us to have it on our radar and also to always have those tough conversations as to whether or not we match the fees or decide in fact to subsidize the library. Maybe one day we will need to, or maybe we will want to, whatever that situation brings us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, if you look at the budget, the economies of scale, I mean, we're, comparatively speaking, the library doesn't cost us that much money as some other things do. If we can't find a buck here or a buck there to in fact have some kind of a library organization, then we need even this as, as council people. And I think we may be able to try to work some of the numbers in order to do that as we go along in the coming years. And the final comment I have to make is, with respect, Councilman Matthew, I would challenge you maybe to put some suggestions on the table to have maybe start a discussion on how we can change the budget process as you see it to one where, in in your view, might be more effective in terms of controlling the budget, because voting year after year, no on a budget, without putting some stuff on the table that would show that you've got some ideas, frankly, just looks like an a re-election gimmick.
I'm not for election.
I'm sure you will be.
Are you finished, Mr. Councilman?
I finished it. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
will
It's
be.
2015.
At this point, we'll continue on. Minutes, please, Kathleen.
Regular meeting of the Mayor and Council held April 14, 2015. Executive session of the Mayor and Council held on April 14, 2015. And workshop session of the Mayor and Council held on April 14, 2014.
Are there any corrections or changes? Hearing none?
I have a motion to adopt, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Kathleen, communications, please.
New Jersey State League of Municipalities Mayor's Advisory.
Receive and file.
Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue, regarding an opportunity to regain your tax dollars.
Receive and file. Public hearing on ordinance 15-09 as advertised in the Chronicle on April 17, 2015. Kathleen, please read ordinance 15.
Have we agreed to table that?
If we just don't do anything with it, it dies.
Well, you advertise for a public hearing, I think we should have the public
Yes.
hearing
That
in
was-
case there's any member of the public here,
Okay.
so they have an opportunity
Yes.
to comment if they're here.
Okay.
Okay, ordinance to amend section 21-37, schedule of resident preferential permit parking zones in Article 14, resident preferential permit parking, and Chapter 21, vehicles and traffic, and to amend section 21-8, 2-hour parking in Article 1, traffic and parking, and Chapter 21, vehicles and traffic of the Code of the Borough of Garwood to revise the resident preferential permit parking zone and to revise the 2-hour parking zone by adding additional streets to each.
Have you received any correspondence concerning ordinance 1509?
No.
Does anyone present wish to be heard concerning ordinance 1509? Motion to close public hearing on ordinance 1509.
So moved. Second.
All right, with that, Mayor, now we could have a motion to table, a second, and
Do we have a motion at this
Discussion and
point
roll.
to,
I'll make a motion to table 1509.
do we have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
We should have a roll call on that, please, because it's an ordinance.
Thank you.
Councilman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Matthew?
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tarantino?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco?
Aye.
Council President Hairston?
Aye.
Kathleen, please read ordinance 15-10 by title only.
An ordinance to repeal section 115-2 begging in Article 1 disorderly and offensive conduct in Chapter 115 miscellaneous offenses.
Motion to introduce 15-10.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 15-10, Mayor.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Matthew?
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tarantino?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco?
Aye.
Council President Hairston?
Aye.
Council standing committee reports and other reports. Councilwoman Tarantino, police.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have something I want to read, if I could just find it, give you just a moment.
Go right ahead.
I have it here. Oh, no, that's not it. 1 second, I have it. I'm all out of order now. Okay, got it, thank you. I would like to read a letter that we received from Sheriff Joseph Crime. Chief Underhill, I would like to express my sincere thanks for allowing Captain Doug Stouffer to assist in providing instruction for my officers in active shooter response techniques on March 7, 2015. Our office faces unique challenges to schedule large-scale training for critical components such as active shooter response. We do not have enough trainers with this requisite expertise to conduct this hands-on block of instruction effectively. Captain Stouffer and other members of the SWAT team volunteered to assist our corps instructors. His professionalism, knowledge, and application of the tactics went a long way to ensuring a highly successful training evolution. It is resource sharing such as this that ensures our officers are prepared for critical incidents within Union County. If I may ever be of mutual assistance, please do not hesitate to call. I would like to thank Captain Stouffer for his expertise and making Garwood look good.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Captain
Thank you very
Stouffer.
much.
Thanks, Captain.
That is all for the police report, Mayor. Yes, that's coming in the other report.
Thank you. Public Health, Council President Bierstadt.
Thank you, Mayor. The Board of Health will hold their next meeting, a special meeting on May 20th to discuss the ordinance proposing a fee for their plan reviews. And that's it, Mayor.
Any discussion or comments? Now we'll move on. Streets and Roads Ecology, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Fire, Council President Bierstadt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As everyone knows, at the beginning of each month, I receive a report from the fire division in terms of number of hours served and what they do. But I try to mention something about them every meeting. Just very quickly, I've indicated I get all their text messages. And just in the past 24 hours, they've received 3 text messages where they've had to cover for other municipalities. It was a fire in Clark, and I still call it the Windsor Diner. I forget what it's currently.
Manny's.
Manny's.
1:30 this morning.
That's right. There was one in Kenilworth, and I'm not sure if everyone knows, but there was a fire in Scotch Plains this afternoon at a gas station. Looked pretty bad. So, the fire division was called for all 3 of those. They continue to serve the municipality and Union County with municipal or mutual aid. And once again, I'd like to thank them for their time. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Any comments? Now we'll move on. Finance, Councilman Petroselli.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Buildings and Grounds, Councilman Matthews.
Thank you very much, Mayor. On Wednesday, April 15th, the evening, at Lincoln School, we had a joint committee of the Buildings and Grounds, a joint meeting of the Buildings and Grounds Committees for the Council and the Board of Education. As a result of this meeting, we extended through June 30th the janitorial agreement between the Borough and the Board of Ed as it regards the Sports and Recreation Center. In short, the Board of Ed will be sending 1 maintenance staff member to clean the building 1.5 hours twice per week at the rate of $25 per hour. Total weekly costs and cleaning time are $75 and 3 hours, respectively. In that regard, the Buildings and Grounds Committee unanimously recommends the adoption of Resolution 15-188. Please note that the Board of Education has already passed such a resolution at its regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday, April the 21st. Okay? We have scheduled another joint Buildings and Grounds meeting for 7 p.m. on Thursday, June the 11th. At Lincoln School. At that meeting, we'll be seeking feedback from all parties involved, including the chairman of Garwood's Recreation Commission. At that time, we will determine whether any further modifications to the agreement are warranted. Basically, Mayor, what it is everything's going fine now. I spoke to Jack Sullivan. He said things are fine, but his concern is, as it is with all of us, the building's not being heavily used. And we want to see when the summer rec kicks in, if this is working. And also some things that came up at the meeting, I know Councilman Petroselli mentioned they want to buy a vacuum cleaner to keep there. I mean, this is all kind of, this is all new ground.
As you said, it's just taking one step at a time, it's all new.
Yeah, so that's, so June 11th, we'll have another recommendation.
Any comments on the report? Now we'll continue on. Laws and License, Councilman Matthews. On report. Sorry.
No report over here, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Recreation, Councilwoman Tedesco.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation Commission last met on April 15th. The spring soccer program for children from 3 to 5 years old has begun and takes place on Friday afternoons at the turf field. The registration cost was lowered this year from $50 to $25, with each child getting a t-shirt and a soccer ball for signing up. Clark Soccer, using Red Bull trainers, is running the program, and the $25 is complete profit for the borough. So with about 20 children signed up, this is generating about $500 in revenue. A summer basketball clinic will be conducted 1 night per week in the summer, and I will have more information on that when the details are finalized. The Recreation Commission hired Dana Parkhill to be the Summer Recreation Director this year, a position that she held last year as well. I brought the concerns of the gentleman that came to our last council meeting to the Commission, and I have since called him to let him know about that. The commission decided to turn the lights on at the turf field until 9 p.m. on Saturdays to give the public additional hours, however, still not going to 10 p.m., which they're allowed to do, out of fairness to the residents around. Presently, the turf field is completely open on Saturdays and Mondays to the public. It is also open after school until 6 p.m. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays when rentals begin. On Fridays, it is available until 4:30 p.m. when recreation instructional soccer begins. As I mentioned at the last meeting, the commission wants to balance between public time and time for rentals, which generate revenue. So far, at this point in the year, the complex has generated $10,000 in revenue. The monthly schedule is currently available on the Borough website under the Garwood Sports and Recreation Complex tab. April has been posted as a PDF in order to get it up as soon as possible, but in the future, the plan is to have it uploaded in a way so that it will automatically update on the website as events are scheduled. Also, the commission is presently working on acquiring an electric board or computer screen to display the schedule at the complex itself to help keep the public informed. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments? We'll continue. Committee on Aging, Councilwoman Tarantino.
No report, Mayor. All is well with the seniors right now.
That's all I believe. Library Committee, Representative Councilman Petroselli.
Thank you, Mayor. The Garwood Public Library will be hosting a magic show for adults on Tuesday, May 12th at 7 p.m., presented by Master Magician Mark Zakaria, who has performed at a variety of venues throughout the tri-state area, including the Stage House in Scotch Plains and Outback in Mountainside. The show is entitled Another Wasted Hour with Mark Zakaria, or Out of His Mind and Into Yours, when time spent with Mark show is anything but wasted. He's humorous, congenial, adaptable, and amazing magician. Registration is required for this event. Now that spring has finally arrived, the library is also hosting a program on Thursday, May 14th at 6:30 p.m. presented by horticulturist Brian Lowe, who will educate the audience on garden preparations. How to get your gardens and lawns ready for all the spring and summer will be the topic, and is something we are looking forward to doing about this time. Registration is also required for this event. You can register for both or either of these events in person at the library, by phone, or the library's interactive calendar found on their website. That's all for my report.
Thank you. Any comments? Now we'll continue on. School Board Liaison, Councilman Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, as I stated in my other report, they did go ahead and okay the extension of the janitorial contract. Also, they are putting the finishing touches on their contract with the teachers. So that's going to be approved probably at their next meeting. Other than that, that's all for my report, Mayor.
Any comments? Celebrations of public events and holiday liaison, Council President Nielsen.
Thank you, Mayor. As has been mentioned in previous meetings, the Celebrations Committee will hold their annual Memorial Day service on Monday, May 25th at 12 noon at the Knights of Columbus. We're all invited to attend the service and partake in the hot dogs and soda afterwards. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And there may be chips too, yes.
Thank you, Councilman. Any comments?
Yes, who would be the speaker, do we know?
Yes.
Yes. What up,
Are you gonna share?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
There you go.
Speaker has
As long as you don't.
been arranged.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. Secret.
That's how you get more
Entice
people there, right?
people to come.
Right.
In case the hot dogs weren't enough.
That's right. That's right.
Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board, Representative Councilman Matthew.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Parking Committee, Councilwoman Tarantino.
No report, Mayor.
Good. Police Negotiations Committee, Councilwoman Tarantino. I gotta get it right this time.
Thank you, Mayor. We will have an executive session at the end of this meeting to have an update on negotiations.
No, thank you. Administrative Review Committee, Councilwoman Tarantino.
No report, Mayor.
Historical Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor. Meeting next month.
Kathleen, please read the officers' reports.
There are none.
Thank you. At this point, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone, sign in, and state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Hearing none, seeing none, step up, Bruce.
Good evening, Mayor Lombardo, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Patterson?
Yeah, Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. That rec complex cost, I don't know who's arguing, but, there's factions about it. But I was at the meetings, and they were talking about it, the $3,000 was over and above the normal operating costs. And nobody ever said what the normal operating costs were, but that $3,000 wasn't the maintenance of the facility. It was the extra cost over the lights and the operations of the clubhouse since demolished. So, is it an issue? I don't see that, but, people like to talk about it, let them talk about it. And then just one last shot, and I'm very disappointed at listening to the council about Lou Petrozelli's $30,000 health insurance. But I guess I come in front of you guys, and I come in front as an activist. I mean, obviously you all know that. And I guess I try to create an activist government. And I know the inertia, and I haven't been on council, I haven't been mayor, so. But, it's tough trying to create an activist government. Chris Christie talks about activist Supreme Court. Are they? I don't know. That's for us to decide on our own. Anyway, but I'm trying to push you guys into recognizing that there is a big picture here. That yes, there's the mundane items that you need to address, but you have to not only look down the ladder, you have to look up the ladder to the county, and you also have to look among yourselves. And I made some suggestions about the health costs that seemed valid to me. I mean, but yet I got in return more or less that the council is embracing and allowing it. And like I mentioned, yes, it is legal. And even Councilman Matthew, who I thought maybe would say he would frown upon it, talks that there was a recall, already had a recall last election. He was voted in, which I can't argue. However, the question actually comes, if this isn't it, maybe it's not an issue, maybe it's just an issue to me, but I'll tell you, $30,000 seems like a lot of tax money to be shelling out. But it wasn't an issue, obviously, for the conservative guy. The political boss of that party, I guess, could care less about it, which is interesting because, he votes no on the budget all the time. And yet here was an issue that we could have maybe resolved a $30,000 expense last election, and nothing was done. It wasn't really talked about that much during the election. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's just me, but it's me, and I'm a loudmouth, and I talk about it, and I don't like to see that. And hopefully, just out of the goodness of Lou, I mean, I've asked many times before, please reconsider it. Take $10,000 off. Take $20,000 benefits. Just do something. I mean, you're a councilman. You're supposed to be serving the people. You're supposed to care about us out here. It sure seems questionable in what you're doing. Well over $100,000 has been spent on his health benefits since he's been sitting on the council. And so I'm asking, the goodness of your heart, I'm pleading with you as a taxpayer, please consider it. And also maybe, talk to him.
You've gotten your answer.
I don't think I got my answer.
You did. You got your
It's like talking to the county. I mean, they say something and,
they'll throw you out. Can you sum up at this point?
Okay, before I get thrown out like the county, right?
We will shoot you down.
Okay.
Please don't forget the C word.
Thank you. I mean, the Republicans even agree that it's okay, so, two Republican parties, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Patterson, Mr. Mayor, Bruce, you talk about being an activist. One of the things that I think we're waiting on from you is the concern you raised regarding freehold of Mirabella and Scotch Plains and him voting on those issues that involve Scotch Plains. I think, I'm not asking you to come back up. You were going to, no, seriously, you were going to put a draft together?
Yes,
and bring something back. I appreciate it.
that was asked of me, and I don't know if it was the subsequent council meeting where it actually came up. And that issue I had continually be brought up in front of Council Barry, who's the freeholder council up there. And I kept asking about it. Finally, he did answer. And I explained it at the council that there is a non-compatibility or incompatibility, that was okay, that he can do that. So to me, that seemed to be the answer. I didn't like it, but I mean, if you want me to still come up with a resolution, I'll be glad to write one up. I understand what you're saying. Like I said, I don't like the issue, but I mean, I actually did get an answer from Council Barry. So I get another 3 minutes.
No.
What I didn't get an issue was Mirabella voting on the budget when he's at the BA over there in Scotch Plains and he's a freeholder. That I haven't gotten an issue about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll continue on. Are there any resolutions anyone wants to relieve from the consent agenda? I hear none. May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented, Mayor.
I'll second.
Roll call, please, Kathleen.
Councilman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Matthew?
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli? Councilwoman Tarantino?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco?
Aye.
Council President Neerstead?
Aye.
Thank you. Is there any new business the mayor and council may have this evening? Hearing none, this evening I have signed proclamations for the Garwood First Aid Squad Awareness Month of May 2015, Older Americans Month, May 2015, Fortitude Day, May 1st, 2015, National Day of Prayer, May 7th, 2015. Kathleen, please read the payment of claims resolution, please.
Be it resolved that the following claims as approved be and the same are hereby ordered paid when properly signed and verified, and the payment of payrolls as listed is hereby confirmed and ratified.
May I have a motion to adopt payment of claims?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Kathleen.
Councilman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Matthew?
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tarantino?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco?
Aye.
Council President Neerstead?
Yes.
Thank you. Kathleen, please read executive session resolution number 15192.
Closed session resolution authorizing an executive session for the purpose of discussing contract negotiations between the Borough of Garwood and Garwood PBA Local Number 117 and matters of the attorney-client privilege relating to the above and in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12 closed session meetings open to public exclusion of public subject of matter. Whereas it is necessary for the mayor and council of the Borough of Garwood to conduct an executive session closed to the public in order to discuss the above listed matters. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the Borough of Garwood hereby move to go into executive session in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, for the purpose of discussing the subject stated above, and be it further resolved that the matters discussed in and minutes of the closed session shall be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality no longer exists.
May I have a motion to adopt resolution number 15192?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please, Kathleen.
Councilman Martin?
Aye.
Councilman Matthew?
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli?
Aye.
Councilman Tarantino?
Aye.
Councilman Tedisco?
Aye.
Council President Neerstead?
Aye.
Mr. Lott?
Yeah.
Do we have to mention the action in
We do, but I'm not really up on what the exact topic of
Okay.
this discussion is, so I don't know whether we're gonna have, I suppose we should announce that there's a possibility that action could be taken.
After executive session, there is a possibility of taking action. Pardon?
Sandy, is there gonna be action after?
Mm-hmm.
That's Kathleen's question, she spoke with Tina,
Oh,
I just haven't phoned
okay.
her.
There is a, resolution.
Yes,
Yes, there is.
There's a possible.
it is a possibility.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
okay. Well,
So just want to leave that open, it is a possibility.
Okay.
From that. Do we,